back today to cover someone new who I have never covered on this channel before. Her name is Kerry Cassidy, and maybe some of you are familiar with her because I was a big fan of the podcast Knowledge Fight, which covered Alex Jones. Podcast has recently ended. It's very sad. Back in the day, they used to do these segments that they would call Wacky Wednesdays, which featured some different characters, but Kerry Cassidy was one of the characters that was often featured. And Kerry Cassidy has a show program, I guess, called Project Camelot, which is both like, at least at this point in time, is both like her YouTube channel and a Substack and all kinds of stuff. Um, and I thought that, I guess maybe in honor of Knowledge Fight, maybe I would look into Kerry and what she's doing. So I will say Kerry is much more hardcore than Linda. Kerry gets a lot more political than Linda does. Kerry also is like more morally suspect than Linda in a lot of ways. One of her big sources is Captain Mark Richards, who is a guy who is in prison for commissioning a murder. And so yeah, Kerry is like a slightly more like where Linda, I adore Linda. Linda sometimes says things that are unintentionally problematic. Linda is very credulous. She has her own issues, but mostly I think she's a delight and probably a very wonderful person. Kerry is not that. Kerry is a little more unpleasant, but Kerry also does love space. She loves the aliens. She loves all the different races of aliens. Um, she talks about all the different races of aliens. And so, yeah, so anyway, with Knowledge Fight wrapping up, I thought that it might be a good opportunity to just look into what Kerry may be up to at the moment. And what Kerry is up to at the moment is the Anunnaki. Kerry is very into the Anunnaki right now. And the Anunnaki, I guess just to give like a bit of background, because I think that, today we're going to watch a video that Kerry is an interview that someone does with Kerry, and she expects you to know all these things. So, okay, my camera was not happy about where it was placed and it just tried to like fall off. So let's hope that this is better. So the Anunnaki were originally some of the deities worshipped by ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. They are the descendants of An, the god of the heavens, and Ki, the goddess of the earth. And they were put in charge of humanity. Enlil is probably one of the ones you may have heard of, just because his name comes out the most often. But I think the important thing here is like that's actual historical stuff, right? That's who the Anunnaki are in the historical sense. But they've basically been co-opted by lots of UFO people. I think Eric von Daniken, who wrote Chariots of the Gods, was the first person to do this. Eric von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods, is basically about how all religions are pretty much just our interpretations of ETs coming to visit us and doing these miraculous things. And he, I think, in his book, supposedly identified the Anunnaki as extraterrestrials. But more famously, it was Zecharia Sitchin who wrote a book claiming that the Anunnaki are an advanced species from the planet Nibiru, which is a planet in our solar system that has yet to be discovered or show any sign of its existence, I believe. And that they came to Earth to mine Earth for resources and basically created humans as a hybrid of themselves and Homo erectus, which I guess was around at the time, to like be their slave labor, pretty much. And at some point they left, but Sitchin has predicted that they will return. David Icke is like, I think that it's unclear whether David Icke's idea of lizard people came from the Anunnaki idea or if he's just incorporated the Anunnaki into his lizard people idea, but the Anunnaki are these like, are lizard people. reptilian in some respect. So that's the context of who the Anunnaki are, and that's what Kerry is into right now. Um, and she doesn't get into so the video that we're going to watch today, I've watched already. I've cut down to the barest essentials of stuff that I found at least somewhat interesting. Um, but as a warning moving forward, if I continue to follow Kerry, um, Kerry does believe the state of Israel is controlled by the Anunnaki, which I think is its own special form of anti-Semitism. So yeah. So what we're gonna watch is uh Carrie is being interviewed by this guy named Michael Jaco, and I'm not gonna show his face too much in the video recording because they were like side by side, and I'm more interested in what Carrie's saying, so I'll just mostly show her. But here's a picture of him if you want to know what he looks like. And then from his website, who is Michael Jaco? Michael Jaco is a retired veteran with over 24 years in naval special warfare and over 2 years in naval diving and salvage. Over 11 years as a contract and direct contract security operative for U.S. State Department and CIA operations in combat zones. Dedicated a total of 35 years serving the U.S. and government in high risk environments. So this just goes to show if you have like a military background, you can do all kinds of weirdo UFO stuff and make money. It seems like what he's mostly doing at the current moment is selling these vitamin patches, but also like a water filtration system that puts light into the water. He has some muscle teas that you can buy from him as well. On his website, he was also advertising the Fraud Fighter Summit, which I think maybe is mentioned in the video, and maybe we'll talk about when we get to it. But he has invited Carrie on specifically to talk about the Anunnaki and Iran, like as in the war in Iran. So yeah, so I thought that might be interesting, and we'll get into it, and I'll pause along the way to give whatever commentary and background I feel is necessary. So let's go. All right.
Yeah, Kerry, thanks for coming on.
Ooh, loud.
We've had some great shows together, and you've always, are pushing the envelope on consciousness and bringing more information in. So Iran is one of those places where they're not Anunnaki. Seem to have you know marked their presence and influenced for quite some time. Let's talk about it. What are your views on that? And I'll share some of mine.
Okay. All right. That'll be fun to do. So basically, I just want to say that I did write an article about this subject and actually a few articles. I've been actually going down the Anunnaki rabbit hole, I guess you might say, for the last month or two, and also investigating.
Yeah, so I did read this particular article, and I've tried to skim through her other Anunnaki articles. This particular article was mostly about Uri Geller, who she'll to mention in a minute, but Uri Geller is the guy who claimed to be able to bend spoons with his mind in like the 70s. I think he was like famously debunked by James Randi. And then she'll also mention Andrea Puharich. I'll see how she says it. But who was one of the people who promoted him, and wrote a book about him.
Uh, I don't know if you know Uri Geller
Yeah.
and Andrija Puharich
Okay, she also
and
doesn't know what that means.
their work. And so I was reading a book about Uri and actually inviting him on my show. No luck so far, but he is seeing my
Yuri is not returning her calls.
emails.
Okay, I had to redo this because I forgot that he shows her website. But you are about to see a picture, a picture, an AI picture, a CGI, I don't know, of Trump with an Anunnaki
Them
or
up
two Anunnaki.
at this point, and yes, that's one of the articles I did write.
Yes. I wonder why
Is
it says
is
I found a
because,
chamber.
they all those years ago, believe it or not, back in the '70s when Yuri was, quite popular and they got involved with Hal Puthoff and,
Hmm.
uh, Russell Targ at
Mhm.
SRI, and you
Oh yeah. So basically Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ. So Hal Puthoff is someone who I feel like I've run into a little bit in UFO space. Like I think he was on I think he was in the Age of Disclosure documentary, if you're familiar with that. He's been around for a long time. Russell Targ, I think, was like a parapsychologist of some kind, but basically they studied Uri Geller and decided that he had real psychic powers, even though pretty much everyone at that point just felt like it was pretty conclusive that he was just like a really good magician, not musician. Maybe he's a musician. I don't know. But yeah. Oh, and yeah, I got from the Wikipedia about Uri Geller. There's a quote from the Skeptic's Handbook of Parapsychology by Paul Kurtz um, about this is what Carrie's kind of about to talk about. Hypnotized by Pukarik, Geller identified himself as Spectra, a computer aboard a spaceship from a distant galaxy. Under the control of Huva, he was sent to intervene on Earth, and Pukarik was to assist Geller. So, yeah. So that's what she's talking about is, I guess, whatever they found out when they hypnotized him?
probably know all about that as well. They were actually in contact with a group of what ended up to be called the Nine or the Nine Intelligences. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
they claim to be on the far edges of what one might call this simulation. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what they said. I mean, back in those
Is that what they said, Carrie, or is that your interpretation? I guess that's your interpretation of what they said.
days, they didn't use the word AI, so they said they were computer intelligences, which
Oh, I
obviously,
thought he said he was a
you know,
computer intelligence.
they're quite advanced, an old race. Um, there seem to be some pretty direct parallels with the Anunnaki.
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
although I don't think that connection
So basically, Uri Geller was being empowered by the Anunnaki.
has been proven. I know that Yuri is out there right now talking about the Galactic Federation, which my understanding is that Galactic Federation is a federation of many different races.
Yeah, my understanding from looking this up really quickly is just that the Galactic Federation is basically like the same as the Federation in Star Trek. It's just like a lot of different alien groups, except I guess humanity is not involved. But clearly Carrie thinks they're bad.
That particular group has a lot of negative, what we call negative ETs or regressive, or there are
Negative
different words for
ETs.
them, but the bad guys and some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a few good guys. Okay, that's my understanding.
Okay. The Federation is bad.
And I think it's borne out so far. But so I'm just saying that when we talk about the Anunnaki and we go back in time, they're credited with a lot of the stuff that has happened, as you may know.
By who?
And yet there's also, okay, so that's when I wrote that article you brought up on the screen having to do with their Pleiadian connection.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so the Pleiadians, if you've been listening to Linda at all, the Pleiadians are basically the same as like the Nordic slash tall whites. Like they're the blonde, blue eyed, tall, white, skinny aliens that are like so beautiful and always good and helpful, but also maybe helped the Nazis during World War II. So yeah, that's who they are.
my understanding is that the Anunnaki were originally Pleiadians. They went rogue. They left this group,
Mm-hmm.
left the planet, the galaxy, I guess, Pleiades, and they went and took over Nibiru. At that
Mm-hmm.
point, they were invaded by the Draco reptilians, who are were the arch enemies and still are the arch enemies of the Pleiadians. And the way the takeover happens is through genetics. So they don't necessarily come into a place, a colony or whatever, a planetoid, and take it over physically.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is it's mainly through genetics. So that's how they operate. That's how they came here on Earth and also decided to mess with our genetics. They like to claim that they created us, and they've got a
Mm-hmm.
little story about
Yeah, that's what Zachariah Sitchin said.
It's not the Adam and Eve story because it's way before that, but
Mhm.
it's, fashioning out of clay and then adding
Mhm.
Sounds
they
similar.
called it the god's blood, which meant their blood. I think that that's a lie, a genetics lie, if you will, because I think what they did is cross their bloodline with ours. Now,
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a metaphor, Carrie. It's a metaphor, just like you would expect from a religious text.
if you understand this at all, then you will know that that means that the Anunnaki are actually Pleiadian, which is, you could say, humanoid reptilian hybrids. All right. So
Mm.
they were already a hybrid race. They came to our planet, invaded us, and then they started to mess with our genetics and to create this humans, so-called human, which is hue man of
Oh,
many
no.
colors.
No, Carrie, that is not where the word human comes from. It's just not. That's hilarious, but no, this does not help. Please don't say that.
Mhm.
Races and influence the races with their genetics to different degrees. And, I can get more into that.
You've opened up a really good, line here. I have memories of being, an Anunnaki,
Oh, all
Whatever,
right.
Michael.
actually
We
being
don't
on,
care.
Nibiru, and then coming here to Earth
It's Nibiru. Everyone knows it's pronounced Nibiru.
and helping and so forth. And I believe that we're still communicating, we're still dealing with, the Anunnaki.
Yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
showed a couple
Well, supposedly you're going to tell us about how they're in Iran.
looked like Anunnaki with, President Trump, uh,
Yes, we saw that picture.
and, of course, that's just, CGI.
Well, somebody says, yeah, but they could be, actually, there's no reason why they couldn't be real. I mean,
That picture was not real. I mean, is she saying the Anunnaki are real? Because that picture was not real.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
understand that Simon Parks thinks they're CGI or whatever. Everyone does, but I think they're realistic enough that they could
Mhm.
be real. Ever since I started
What? Okay.
Project Camelot, I had the back of my mind. It was constantly bothering me and saying, somehow in my back of my mind, you have to go down the road of the Anunnaki. You have to go
Mhm.
investigate them.
Yep.
And yet, when I was originally doing Project Camelot, there was no time because we got bombarded from the get go, and I was so busy night and day that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have time for
Camelot really kept you
that
busy.
kind of investigation, which has now become much easier because I guess you know this, and I've been posting them around, but there's a group somewhere, and I don't
Oh, yeah. There's like a whole plethora of AI slop channels on YouTube that publish things about the Anunnaki, etc. Like, there's one that Carrie in particular pulls from a lot, which like I'll put a picture of their uh channel here. Um, but yeah. Oh, also I did cut out a section here where she does talk about how she knows she has a psychic connection to the Anunnaki because one time she had a dream where an Anunnaki told her that she should move to Arizona for a year, and she did, and it was fun, and therefore um she has a psychic connection to the Anunnaki. So,
know where how they came about or anything, but they are now revealing new discoveries about the Anunnaki or releasing them. So recently I was looking at the Courtney Brown stuff and saw that back in I
oh yeah, and Courtney Brown is like a pretty well-known remote viewer who remote views, I don't know, things. Let's see. I pulled a quote from Wikipedia here. According to Michael Shermer, quote, the claims in Brown's two books are nothing short of spectacularly weird. Through his numerous remote viewing sessions, he says he has spoken with Jesus and Buddha, both apparently are advanced aliens, visited other inhabited planets, time traveled to Mars back when it was fully inhabited by intelligent ETs, and has even determined that aliens are living among us. One group in particular resides underground in New Mexico. So that's the kind of stuff that Courtney Brown does, if you want to know.
guess it was might have been even 2023, but they were talking about the years 2024 and 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stumbled down it now. And I think I'm sent things, I'm sent to certain things to see. So basically, they were talking about the ETs, the so-called negative and the positive were going to have a war, and they were
Mm-hmm.
preparing for it. And they were
Okay.
talking about that in their remote viewings. And they were set the target to look at that preparation. Sort of a strange target, if you ask me. But anyway,
Okay,
so
shade, Gary, shade.
the viewers did, and you can go watch it if you're interested and stuff. I think I linked it on my article. But the thing is that what they came up with was some interesting pieces. One, that the bad guys had far more troops than the good guys, so that's
Okay,
interesting.
seems bad.
And the other is that they were only viewing up till I think it was August of 2025, and they weren't looking at 2026. So all of that was preparation. The
Mm-hmm.
actual war was going to happen after August 2025. And
All right.
voila, here we have, an escalating war with Iran and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So that
So
led me down the
it's an alien war,
road
just so
that
we're
I have
clear.
already investigated, which, I think we had even had show about it. But
Wait, what aliens are on what sides though? I guess she thinks we're the America are the good aliens or something because of Trump.
where I said it's not about nukes, it's about Stargates. I guess I
Oh,
kind of
it's about
had, I mean, I
Stargates.
knew they were fighting over the Stargates, but I
Yes,
didn't think
of
we had
course.
actual, alien craft coming and, doing battles.
It's amazing to me that like Stargates are like it's like an accepted term among these people. It's just and it just comes straight from that TV show, which I actually over COVID watched like all of the Stargate everything. Um, but yeah, did like the term Stargate was it popular among UFO people before then? Mm.
In Iraq.
Anyway, they're fighting over
So overtly, I figured
Stargates.
it was just kind of military standoffs, over the gates and all that. But it turns out that there's an out and out battle taking
Mm.
place
Well,
in Iran
yes.
right now
Yes.
that they're lying about, right? And
Yeah.
Well,
covering up,
I
which
mean, there's certainly a battle. I don't think they're lying about that part.
is driving me crazy. Um, because, I think people should know. See, here we are in the eve of disclosure, and yet they're not telling the most obvious. They're still wondering if we have bodies, when
Mm-hmm.
of course, in Camelot, in what I do, we had whistleblower testimonies going way back on reverse engineered
Yeah, yes. Yes, you have testimonies for all kinds of stuff.
craft,
Mhm. Yeah.
bodies, and this
Basic
and that.
stuff.
I mean, so this is just a no-brainer at
Right.
this point. I mean, you probably heard the story a million times like I have, but that Nixon showed Jackie Gleason the bodies in the base
Oh yeah, it was really funny actually because in the Disclosure Day film, the new Steven Spielberg film, they recreate this as one of the one of like the alien evidence clips that they show.
in Florida underground, and it changed his whole life, according to his
Right.
wife, and
Yep.
his whole,
Mm-hmm.
picture
Sure.
of the future, whatever of his future. And
Nixon was trying to impress
that was
Jackie
so
Gleason,
long
yes.
ago that it's just insane that we're still at that step in these podcasters who just will not get on board and understand or listen seriously to people like Grush and other
Which
people that really
podcasters?
have the
Oh, and Grush is David Grush. He's one of the big whistleblowers who's been in a bunch of, I think he was in a congressional hearing. I guess he's taken the most seriously. He does seem to have been like former military intelligence of some kind. But his claims are like pretty out there in the sense that he says that there has been a legacy program that has recovered alien crashes, including biologics, which he means alien bodies, I guess, or yeah, like maybe aliens themselves. I don't know, alien bodies. And that we've reverse engineered all that the legacy program has reverse engineered all of that technology. He also talked about like plasmoid beings in a recent press conference, which was interesting. But yeah, that's who David Grush is. David Grush, I actually personally think is genuinely a bit troubled, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, let's talk about the Anunnaki more.
goods, not to mention all my whistleblowers going back years, right? But
Yeah.
so okay, back to the Anunnaki. So this is the key, is really understanding where they came from. Now, what's interesting in the link up that other people wouldn't necessarily make is with Uri, because Uri,
Mm-hmm.
back in those days in the 70s, he claimed that his powers were not from him. They were coming from elsewhere, but no one believed him
Okay.
back in those days. And it's
Well,
all
no one believed him because he is a fraud.
about how Andresia got involved with Uri and how they sort of lived the testing in a way, like every day, and they were going through things. But they
Mm-hmm.
eventually made contact with this race of beings, okay,
Yeah, the space computer. The space computer Spectra.
that were coming through the tape recorder with a voice, okay, and talking to them, okay,
Like a
sometimes
voice?
longer
Okay.
stuff and sometimes shorter stuff. But it was an ongoing investigation, and it was clearly to prove these beings wanted to prove to humans that these things were possible, okay? That you could
Mm-hmm.
teleport things from one dimension to another using
Nope.
your mind, that
Nope.
kind of power. I'm just saying that understanding now they came across in their writings stuff that was written down by Andreja in the
Mm-hmm.
book, um, saying that they wanted something from humans. It's very interesting.
Okay.
They say you have to read it carefully, but they basically were saying, we need you to do something for us. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started, I don't know, thinking
Go to war over Stargates?
about this. And I thought, this is really interesting because this goes back. It takes the actions on
Mm-hmm.
Earth of the Anunnaki back to the Pleiades and why they left in
Mm-hmm.
the first place. We get stories, right? And you never know which
Yeah.
story is the true one and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, none of them are true because the Pleiadians aren't a thing, but go on.
But when I looked at that and I thought, what could they possibly want from us, whoever these beings are? But if, let's
Mm.
say, they
Well, I mean, didn't the Anunnaki come and create us for slave labor for their mining things? Isn't what Zachariah Sitchin said? So I thought we knew.
are who I think they might be, which is at least a branch of the Anunnaki.
Hmm.
Then
Okay.
I thought to myself, well, what if your mission was to leave and become rogue from the Pleiadians? Maybe
Yes.
that was their intention all along.
Well, isn't that why they went to Nibiru in the first place?
The-
Anyway,
I know this is going to sound wild, but wrap your
Carrie, Carrie, everything. Carrie, that applies to everything you say.
mind around this idea.
Okay.
So the Pleiadians have been fighting the Draco reptilians going back eons,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of
and
course.
even William
We all know that.
Tompkins said that they wanted the humans, and
Oh yeah, William Tompkins is like another one of these people. He was supposedly like, at least according to Linda, I've heard her talk about him. He was like a child savant during World War II, and they made him because he could like build these really accurate models of like naval ships that he saw in pictures or something like that. So he like went to work for the Navy and then also became somehow part of the secret space program and has been to Jupiter or whatever. But I did for my podcast, I did go to a UFO conference in Pittsburgh where I was told that he also is not allowed to use email by the government. Just a random fact about William Tompkins. Anyway.
they helped protect and create us on some level. That
Mm-hmm.
we were like their cousins or something, or
Oh,
kind
okay.
of their brothers and sisters, and they wanted
Mm-hmm.
us to be their advanced team to protect, so that
I mean,
we
we
would be the front
suck though. Like as human, like clearly we have nowhere near their capabilities, right? So how useful are we?
with their enemy, which is so they're kind of self-serving in that sense. You understand?
Mm,
And I know
okay.
people are going, "Oh, the Pleiadians are so good, and they're blonde and blue-eyed." And it's like
I
nonsense, right?
mean, that's Carrie's right about that, I will say. Like, I feel like people like Linda. Linda's all about the tall whites and the Nordics, the tall whites. She like loves the tall whites, and like she has no sense of the possible racist implications of being like really really into these like Aryan looking aliens. Um but yeah, I mean, I think Carrie is right to call that one out. All these aliens are messing with us and it's inappropriate. They need to stop.
So they had a motivation.
Yes.
They need to prove that their experiment was good and viable and that they were successful at their experiment.
Okay.
Okay. So they need humans
Mm.
to somehow come into some self realization
Mhm.
as to who we really are and our
Like,
ancestral lines or
do we
whatever,
need to go to the
going
fifth
back
dimension or
to
something?
the Anunnaki who go back to the Pleiadians, you see?
Mm.
Right.
And
Mhm.
then if you want to outfit, what do you need if you want to actually create like I don't like to call us a sub race, but a, alternative race, whatever,
Okay.
another race of beings that would take some of the heavy lifting of the battles with
Mhm.
reptilians, you understand, and Draco off your
Okay.
shoulders. Well, you need a fighting warrior race, right? But how
Okay.
do you get the race coming from perhaps the race coming from the the Anunnaki and the
Yes.
Pleiadians, that combination of genetics wasn't
Okay, I thought Anunnaki were just a branch of the Pleiadians. Like they are just Pleiadians but who went to live on Nibiru. Anyway, okay.
quite that they themselves weren't even quite as warlike as they needed to be to
Okay.
beat the reptilians head on.
Okay. So,
And if they wanted an advanced race, what would they
mm,
do? They would take a, a Draco reptilian hybrid
mhm.
and basically genetically splice them with this race. And I believe my understanding is the original humanoid humans came from Lyra, and that
Oh,
we were not
okay. That's a whole other
warrior
planet.
like at that point. But it is
Mm.
the Anunnaki that brought in the reptilian genetics into our race. And that's
Huh.
why we have the child trafficking and all the stuff,
Oh,
where one part of our sort of group is
okay.
actually got too much reptilian DNA and they're now
Uh,
feeding on the other half. You understand?
okay, okay, okay. So, the Pleiadians are in an endless war with the Draco reptilians. Some subset of the Pleiadians hatched this plan to win that war by creating another species that will participate in that war for them, fight that war for them. And so to do that, they intentionally these subgroup of the Pleiadians, the Anunnaki, they intentionally go to Nibiru as a base of operations, and then they, I guess, get themselves genetically invaded by the Draco reptilians because the Draco reptilians invade them by messing with their genetics. And so they become Pleiadian Draco hybrids, and then they come to Earth. And on Earth, there are humans, but the humans are Lyran or Lyran from Lyra, and they are not warlike, therefore not suited to the purpose of fighting the Draco. And so the Anunnaki, who are now Pleiadian Draco hybrids themselves, then use their genetics with us. So we, as humans, are Lyran Pleiadian Draco hybrids and are just are made to fight the Draco war for the Pleiadians. But we have too much Draco stuff in us, and that makes us do horrible things. Which actually reminds me of that Jerry Sargent video that I reacted to a while ago, where he drank some wine and ate a bunch of candy and maybe almost did something terrible with a knife to his family because of his bad alien DNA. So it's come full circle and it all makes sense now.
But to understand that invasion is genetics, that's
Mm-hmm.
how they,
Yes.
and they're known for this throughout the galaxy. The reptilians and Draco are expert geneticists. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how they invade. Every time they land, they colonize, they invade a species is through genetics. Okay, that's
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much everyone's conception of aliens in general just reflects our own history of colonial violence, you know.
their deal. So just saying these are hypothetical,
Mm-hmm.
conjectures, but the evidence and the trail of evidence is very, very clear, at least
Oh,
to me. So
yes.
anyway, I just came here today to talk about this, what's going on in Iran with regard to the Stargates, but
Mm-hmm.
also the current battles.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a lot of people are afraid we're going to have this false blue beam thing, which Randy Kramer's the real guy.
Okay. Blue beam that she's referring to is basically a conspiracy theory that the New World Order is going to use a fake alien invasion in order to take over. So that's what she means by blue beam. And Randy Kramer is just like some other secret space program guy that she's talked to before.
Who actually went on stage. He's a Marine, Randy. So he went
Yeah,
on
Michael
stage
knows
near
Randy.
Yum, and I was at the conference as well. And he announced that the military was fed up. They wanted to out all the real technology they're using to bring the rest of humanity up to speed, and they were going to actually stage a false alien invasion kind of scenario.
Oh,
The
okay.
trouble
So
is
wait,
that
they were going to stage a false alien invasion so that they could do disclosure.
we already have aliens here. And so some of the
Yeah.
aliens can help them do this. Okay.
Okay.
And they can also do it with CGI. And one of the reasons they were going to
Yeah.
stage it was to show that they could win them in battle, on TVs, like for
Oh.
people to think that, okay, we're not so much, at the mercy of these.
I mean, I guess that's good. Well, no, it's not good. Please don't encourage the military to stage a fake alien invasion. But like, I guess it's true that if aliens came here and invaded, I would pretty much just give up right away because they must be so much more technologically advanced than us. That what's the point? But maybe maybe we can win. We can't win whatever we're doing in Iran, but maybe we can win. But that's because that's about Stargates and there are aliens involved.
Beings. But then they were going to eventually release the truth. That's what he said it would happen.
Okay.
So I at the time I was in the audience and I sort of challenged him and said, "How are you going to have a fake alien invasion when the real ones are here?" And he
Fair enough.
actually kind of lost it and came stomping off the stage and tried to come up to me like he was going to beat the shit out of me. And
Jeez.
then
I thought you were
somehow something
friends.
stopped him, luckily. But it was all on camera. Of course, they never released the footage
Huh.
of that
Okay.
experience. But
Mm-hmm.
we talked. We were more or
You
less
made up.
friends anyway. And even going back to the Wingmakers material, which I often reference because I know James.
Okay, Wingmakers is, as far as I can tell, just like a work of fiction by this guy, and it's about some someone who discovers a fake archaeological like time capsule from future humans. That was as much information as I found in a 5-second search online, but it seems like it's literally just a work of fiction.
Who created it, and he is one of the ACIO who were enhanced their own intelligence and are a sort of a pocket part of the Illuminati, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
people that are running
Pocket
this place.
Illuminati.
In case you don't know that about James. Anyway, just saying that this situation it's just, I don't know. I wanted to come here and be a voice on the one
Mm-hmm.
side where everyone else fears to tread and
Yeah.
just say, hello, we are fighting them. The reason we keep ending up back in Iran and, they
Mm-hmm.
don't make peace
I mean, I guess it makes some sense because if the Anunnaki are the Sumerian gods, then like that's where they started. Maybe that's their oldest base. So I guess they could maybe they would prioritize the Stargates there. Are there only Star anyway?
and just shut the up and, do their thing,
Okay.
is because it's not just Iran. It's these alien races who
Yep.
have
Mhm.
decided to come in, and they are very
Oh.
likely, some of them at least, under the direction of the Anunnaki. And of
Okay.
course, the Anunnaki are
Okay.
not only
I wish you would tell us what the other alien races are, though. If it's not just the Anunnaki, like I want to know, is it the Greys? Like, is it the? It's not the Mantids because they stay out of this kind of stuff. But like, it could be the Greys. Who else? The Draco reptilians are already kind of involved. I don't know, the mercantile dogs, the feline Contessa or whatever, raptor princess.
one group. I think that they have more or less split or on some level. There's some breakaway that's actually doing good,
I agree.
and
Okay, some
breakaway
good on
that's,
Anunnaki.
doing the negative, the usual rule over humans, tell them what to do, to come and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So this alien
All right.
invasion, that's interesting. So you're thinking, and the remote viewers are kind of seeing the same thing, that it it's a war between the good and the bad aliens.
It
Is that right?
is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Okay.
huge
Okay. So that's why all of Trump's diplomatic efforts to maybe try to stop this war, but also seemingly not, have failed is because I mean it's a war between good and bad aliens. So what chance do humans really have to affect any of this?
war between them, and we're in the middle of it. But
Yeah.
we have always been in the middle of it. This is actually
Okay.
not new information, but the remote viewers are now seeing it. You know,
I
Hmm.
see.
Courtney Brown has really emphasized that. He and his viewers have
Yeah.
said very clearly, there's the good guys and the bad guys.
I've been
Well,
saying
the
that for a
bad
while now.
guys want to take us down or order us around or use us as slaves,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Whereas the good guys are trying to prevent all that.
Okay.
He has made, or they have made, the interesting
I wish I knew more about who the good guys and the bad guys. I guess they're just different groups of Anunnaki.
sort of statement that the SSP, which is also split,
Secret space program.
as William Tompkins said in his testimony,
Mm-hmm.
between reptilians and Pleiadian control. Okay, which
Oh,
Mhm.
is
okay.
that's goes back with NASA from
Yes.
eons, but at the same time that they are mainly run, my understanding, right or wrong, have been mainly run by the dark side aliens for the NASA coming forward.
Oh, okay.
Since the time of William Tompkins, when he talked about that, he said
So
that they had
World War
kind of,
II.
I don't know, taken over NASA for quite a while,
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
which is
So NASA is full of the Draco reptilian aliens, bad aliens.
true. The Pentagon. I was just reading something. One of my I'm part of a small news group, and they were
Mm-hmm.
saying that the Pentagon has been run by Satanists going way back, which
Oh,
is
Wow.
well, I
probably
mean, we all knew that, of course.
true. So yeah, this is not a simple war, okay? But
Mm-hmm.
it is on the ground. It is coming to the ground in your face
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
a location near you. Okay, we
Okay.
the
Yeah, I
first thing
mean, I'm concerned for sure, for a lot of reasons. Um, I guess I will add to that list of reasons that the good bad aliens fighting over might start fighting those Stargates closer to home.
one of our top whistleblowers, one of the first ones we ever had, he
Mm-hmm.
went by the name of Henry Deacon. He said we
Okay.
went to the moon, but we had help. And it made
Okay.
perfect sense. Like, we didn't
Well,
even argue over it. Um, the
yeah, I mean,
fact
you
of the matter
wouldn't.
is that the evidence is substantial. But William Tompkins also said that. Okay, so all
Okay.
those years later,
Mm-hmm.
after our Henry Deacon said that to us,
Mm-hmm.
he came along and said the exact same thing. It makes
Mm.
perfect sense. Okay.
So
Now, I've worked for JPL, and I've actually
Did she actually work for JPL? Okay, I have my doubts, but let's do a quick Google and see if we can figure that out. Okay, I found her name, maybe. I found a Carrie Cassidy had written a piece in a JPL newsletter about the progress of their ISO 9000 compliance review. I think it's just like an external auditing thing. The Lynn had only one N, whereas I think her real name has two N's, but that could have just been a typo. But also like I think doing ISO 9000 compliance for JPL, I don't know how much knowledge that really gets you about JPL's actual. I mean, I guess it would tell you a lot about their like bureaucratic processes or something, but I don't know. I don't know. I hadn't heard that before.
Looked at the LEM in person that was there, one of them, and
Yeah, the
I'm
lunar
like,
lander.
"This is a tin can. What are you kidding me? This is a joke."
But yeah, I mean, it does not. The lunar lander did not look great. That's why it was so dangerous and such an amazing feat that it got to the moon.
It is a joke. Okay, I'm sorry to say. That's it. The fact
That's
of the
mean,
matter
Cassie.
is they
That's mean,
didn't go
Kerry.
inside that thing, okay, except for photo ops, whatever
Okay.
was necessary, and maybe not at all. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm talking about. You see how it's the same thing as what's happening right now. They hide the real truth, and they've been hiding it for so long that people are so uninformed. I'm very
Yes.
motivated to
Yes. People are very, very uninformed in general and also very uninformed when it comes to the information that Kerry has.
influence the White Hats through Juan and others.
Oh yeah, she mentions Juan, 107, 10, which I think is supposed to be like 107, but he I think is one of the guys who pretends to be JFK Jr. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, and 107 is also the guy I think who organized the Fraud Fighters conference that Michael Jaco advertises on his site.
To come forward, to come clean. I'm glad that they're making. I know that they're making these steps. Trump is making these steps,
Mm-hmm.
in as far as I'm concerned, under orders. Now, whether they're
From
under
whom?
orders from the Anunnaki or from some other races that want this
Okay.
thing out, I'm not sure. I don't know
Hmm.
that kind of
Oh, like the disclosure.
detail, but it's
Hmm.
very, very interesting and important to understand that they're actually on a timeline. They have to get this
Uh-huh.
information out to the public by a deadline, is
Is
my
that so?
understanding.
What's the deadline?
So anyway, that's
She doesn't actually say what the deadline is.
probably a good enough overview of stuff, but
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is lots more evidence coming forward of all these things that I've been talking
Lots
out
more
about and you've
AI
been
slop
talking about for
channels.
years. So that's actually, that kind of takes a load off my shoulders, so to speak, so that I can not have to be quite so on the trail as much as I was, but I still
Mm-hmm.
just keep on it, anyway, because
Yes.
I guess that's just how I'm built. But
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that,
Kerry's a hard worker.
yeah, that I don't see like a negative future for Earth, actually.
That's
So
very reassuring. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, that was fun. I think we learned some things about the Iran war and why it's continuing, why it's happened in the first place, which we all found confusing, I think, and why it's continued to persist. Why it probably will continue to persist. It is because of the aliens. So yeah, so I don't know. That was good. Carrie's interesting. And I do have one more interview that Carrie did with someone else more recently. This one I think was from July 2nd. But there was one from just the other day that Carrie did that I may also look into because it seems kind of interesting. So yeah, that was fun times, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye bye.